In today's video, we will be talking about domestic violence against women and children.
We will be focused on data of battered women and children from 2017 and are going to compare average annual income with the percentage of women abused.
In this case, our independent variable is the average annual income, and our dependent variable is the percentage of women abused.
Our strata for our dependent variable will be split into two. The first one will be females abused in 2017, and the second will be females abused at one point in their lifetime.
Abused females are classified as domestic violence. Domestic violence is a violent or aggressive behavior within the home. This type of violence usually involves abuse of a spouse or partner.
Statistics show that domestic violence is a gendered crime. 83% of all victims are women. Women are almost 4 times more likely than men to be victims of domestic violence, and more than 6% are married. These statistics prove that women are more likely to get assaulted than men are.
This gender-based violence can cost women their lives. In fact, approximately every 6 days, a woman in Canada is killed by her intimate partner.
Recently, the world has been spreading a lot more awareness of the problem, starting something called the Me Too movement. This movement has made headlines all over the country and promotes women from around the world to share their experiences of sexual assault or harassment to spread awareness for the number of women around the world that suffer from this issue.
Researching this topic is so important because of something called battered women syndrome, which is a psychological condition that is caused by sexual abuse, stalking, physical abuse, and psychological aggression.
Some symptoms of battered women syndrome are feeling isolated, lack of support, and feeling judgment. You might be asking yourself, why should I care about domestic violence? You should care about domestic violence because it could affect you or someone you know in the future. In fact, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men over the age of 18 in the US will be affected by domestic violence in their lifetime. 1 in 3 teens have experienced some form of abuse in a relationship. From the data we collected for women abused in the last 12 months and in a lifetime, we calculated the mean and median for each. The mean or average percent of women in any country that experience abuse or domestic violence throughout their lifetime is 22%. The mean or average percent of women in any country that have experienced abuse or domestic violence in the past 12 months is 8%.
This calculation makes sense because it is likely that more domestic violence would occur in a lifetime than compared to in the last 12 months.
If you were to use this data, it would be better to use the mean because it takes an average of all the scores. The mean shows a better measure of central tendency, telling us if the percentage is generally higher or lower.
Abuse in a lifetime histogram. The distribution from this data is slightly skewed to the left. We know this because the mean and median are equal, making it almost symmetrical. After a brief look over, we came to the conclusion that the median is between the first and third quartile.
Abuse in the last 12 months. The distribution from the data is strongly skewed to the right. We know this because the mean is greater than the median, and that is a characteristic of rightly skewed data.
This box and whisker plot of our data indicates that there are outliers. We know that our box and whisker plot indicates outliers because in the one for female abuse in the last 12 months, the median from the set of data is skewed. We know this because the data isn't in the middle. The median, along with the first and third quartile, is actually closer to the left. The median is at 6%, which means that is a low percentage. The maximum is 20% higher than the median, sitting around 26%.
After a comparison of the two strata data, we realized that the standard deviations are low, meaning that most of the numbers are close to the mean. This proves to us that there are little to few outliers. It also tells us that the number of women abused in their lifetime has more outliers because the standard deviation is higher than the one for women abused in the last 12 months.
The line of best fit for females abused in a lifetime has a weak negative correlation, and the line of best fit for females abused in the last 12 months has a strong negative correlation. The line of best fit for females abused in the last 12 months is decreasing more rapidly than the line of best fit for females abused in a lifetime. We know this is true because recently there has been more effort to spread awareness and put a stop to female abuse. Therefore, the number of females abused has been decreasing in the last few months, whereas the number of females abused in a lifetime is moderately decreasing.
Looking at the countries and their incomes from a broad perspective, it seemed like we would have many options. However, when we had to narrow the search for percentage of sexual abuse, it was much more challenging and we were confined to which countries we could use. For example, looking for the income of Canada was fairly easy. Meanwhile, it was very difficult to find the percentage, which resulted in us having to change our data.
The data might also be skewed due to the sample size that we used. We observed that in our box and whisker plot, there were outliers that had a higher percentage in the last 12 months for female abuse. All the outliers were countries with low average annual incomes, from where we were able to say the poorer countries have higher rate for female abuse.
To conclude, abuse is a very powerful word, described as almost raw and can exploit people in multiple different ways. Simply the thought or idea of abuse can make people shudder and avoid the topic altogether. By avoiding the topic, we feel that we can avoid the certain emotions that can cause embarrassment, vulnerability, and overall negative thoughts. Due to those affected feeling this way, abuse is often kept hidden and causes a large number of abuse cases around the world to fly under the radar.